and welcome to yet another edition of the Warrior SuperCast, the podcast for the Winton School District, highlighting those superstars of the district. I'm Jason Grzgorek, and I'm joined with Steve Denny and Mr. John Pennycuff here, and we're going to discuss some very intriguing issues. It is election season, and of course, it always means something coming up on the ballot, maybe not in your area, but in ours is a very important issue, and that's going to be issue 5. Mr. Pennycuff, you are a former board member and, of course, an active member within our Warrior Nation, and I want to make sure that we all understand what's coming up because people are now seeing a levy is on the ballot. What does this mean when someone says from the Winton School District area looking at this going, a substitute levy? I don't quite understand this, and why are we putting this on the ballot?
The word substitute is new for some people, and so it's a very legitimate question for people to have. There are many different types of levy requests that are enabled by the state of Ohio. This is the first time we've had a substitute levy, and it really has the good news of not raising taxes. It merely substitutes for the end of life of an existing levy and keeps the flow of funding continuing on so that there is no gap in the teaching of our students. There is no gap in the money coming in that's for books and technology and so forth. So it's most unusual to be on the ballot and asking people to vote for it, and it will not raise taxes, and that is true.
When people see substitute versus renewal, obviously you're saying that is going to help in an existing levy. Why go substitute as opposed to a renewal?
A renewal levy renews all the features of an existing levy, the millage as well as the time frame. The substitute levy comes in and replaces, it doesn't duplicate, it comes in and replaces the end of an existing levy, but it goes on for a continuing period of time. So it's very similar to a renewal, but not legally the same. So we want to be honest and straight with our fellow taxpayers.
Absolutely. Mr. Denny, this is obviously going through the operations. When we speak operations, we're talking books and teachers and making sure staffing is correct, going on the right path. How necessary is this substitute levy if we're saying this is something we absolutely need?
Yeah, it's extremely necessary, and I think it's important for our community to understand that we would not approach them with something like this if it wasn't absolutely necessary. We're sensitive to the fact that tax dollars are a premium. Mm-hmm. We understand that. That's true in every community, certainly true in ours. And what we want them to know is this, first of all, when you look at the amount of money the millage generates, it's a fairly significant amount. So it's not something we could just do without. Mm-hmm. And we have gone 10 years since the last levy, which is very, very unusual in the state of Ohio. It's very typical, as you know,
absolutely,
that the local school district will come back about every 3 years. And that's just due to the way school funding works in Ohio. It's due to inflation, it's due to costs going up, but the income for the schools never goes up. So that makes it challenging. But the reason we're coming back in this case is it's a significant amount of dollars. It will ensure the safe, continuous operation of the schools without disruption. And the other thing that's important to keep in mind is when you look at a dollar of taxes in the district, about 75%, well over 70% of that dollar, 70 cents out of that dollar is for staff. It is for the people that work day in and day out with our children, helping them get the education they deserve and trying to educate them to a very high standard. So the rest of it is the operational dollars where you're talking, textbooks and keeping the lights on and the insurance and all of those types of things and ensuring the buses are rolling. That's all operational cost. Mm-hmm. But the bulk of it is to make sure we keep our staff members, our qualified staff members working with our kids every day.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
And it's purely coincidental that this has come at the same time as the building project is getting ready to start. Mm-hmm. Those, by law, are two different pots of money.
And that's important for people to understand. Correct.
Yeah, they can't be mixed. So it's very important to understand it. We're not the first district. There are other districts in the state of Ohio that have begun to use what's called the substitute levy. And the other benefit for the school and the taxpayers is that you know in advance what the tax rate is going to be. Taxpayers can know that the school property tax rate will continue to be what they've seen over the last several years. The school, in turn, can plan with assurance that the flow of money will not be interrupted, and therefore the flow of services to our students will not be interrupted by a cut, or it's literally a cut, or it could be a cut of a little over $4 million per year. So we've got too many good things going with our students
Absolutely.
to interrupt that progress.
You are listening and watching the SuperCast here on Waycross Community Media. We are discussing the issue 5 that will be on the ballot come November. Question to both, and whoever wants to chime in, please do so. We're talking about something that is going to help continue forward. That way we have no stop. Everything continues and is flowing properly. If by chance, and you guys have been on the panel many times, you know me, I always ask the question that someone may have, and it's the good angel, bad angel, devil's advocate on my side here.
Absolutely.
What happens if this does not pass? Is this something that we can revisit in a May special election, or is this something that we have to wait then again till November?
No, it can be readdressed early next year, and that would be a decision for the elected board as to when to go back. But as a former board member and experiencing levy failures from time to time, to sit in a board meeting and have to cut student programs that you know are beneficial, to have to cut programs for students that are your own students in some cases, it's an agonizing feeling. So as a member of the public, I want to make sure, do my part to make sure that the flow of money is not interrupted, so that the staff knows how to plan, that we don't lose teachers, we don't lose programs for our students. So it's just very important.
Sure. A lot of people may also be thinking, about 2 years ago, didn't Winton Woods have something on the ballot before? And now you're coming back to me? Why is that? Mr. Denny, that's a perfect question to ask to you.
And it's a really fair question. And I think we can't overstate it enough that what was requested from the community in 2016 and that they very graciously approved was for brick and mortar. We were talking about something that comes around for many citizens once in a lifetime. These buildings are expected to last 40 to 50 years. The current set of buildings we've been occupying are nearing the end of their operational life. So that was specifically around, hey, we really need to do something about our facilities. Now, certainly that can impact operational costs, but the fact that the voters, again, supported that will enable the district to position themselves very wisely with regard to low operational costs going forward. So it'll actually help forestall and should forestall future levy requests because we're operating much more efficiently. But not to confuse, that was specifically in November 2016 for buildings. And it is illegal for us to pull from those funds to support other types of funding that the district would require. And in this case, in 2018, we're asking for operational dollars. These are dollars to keep the lights on, keep the teachers in place, and the aides and the assistants and those kinds of things, and keep the textbooks and all this technology and software that we're increasingly deploying to make sure we give our kids a high-quality education, is to ensure that that continues. And we cannot mix those two, nor would we, but we're not permitted to.
Fair.
So your questions are very legitimate about what happens if.
Yeah.
And members of the community have banded together to form a committee to help get the word out, to raise some donations, to buy some flyers and some yard signs. Many people have seen the yard signs around the district. So all the homeowners will see over the next 2 weeks, they will see delivered to their front door a flyer by a community volunteer that will address many of the questions that you have already asked and some questions you haven't yet asked.
That's fair.
And there will be mailers going to the homes of voters. So we understand that the word substitute is new, and it bears some explaining, and we're happy to do that. And so this community volunteer group will be coming to your neighborhood before absentee voting starts on the second week in October.
I believe the 10th, I believe, is the start
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that. That is absolutely important. So with bringing the community together, again, by keeping the operations together, by bringing the community together, by sharing and disseminating information to
Yes.
people, it truly shows that we are a unified nation.
Right.
And that we need to kind of band together. Again, that is issue 5 coming up on the ballot in November. One of the last things I do want to bring up is that we have been talking a little bit about the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
For those who are interested, we are still looking for that day of shovel. You do have a date on that, correct?
Yeah, we do. It's going to be October 17th. We're excited about it. We're going to begin the event at 10 a.m. at Winton Woods High School, current location, which happens to be the location of the new 712 facility. And then 90 minutes later at 11:30, we'll be at the middle school, current Green Hills Middle School, where the new K-6 will be built. And so we'll do the groundbreaking there, and we're looking forward to it.
Looking forward to seeing it actually happening. This is
Likewise.
this is definitely history in the making.
Amen.
If I could encourage voters when they get their ballot, either at the poll or absentee, to look at the end of the ballot. The school issues typically are at the back page or the next to the back page. So we're telling people the school issue number 5, the substitute levy, comes after the voting for the judges. So hang in there.
It's important to make sure everybody knows the proper roadmap to get to where we
Yes.
need to be.
Yes.
Mr. Denny, Mr. Pennycuff, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank you for joining us as well. You've been listening to and watching the Warrior Supercast here on Waycross Community Media, the podcast for the Winton Woods School District, highlighting the superstars of the district. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time.